that everyone has, well, an understanding about what you actually do. Could you just briefly explain to us what actually LIMBERRY is and, well, what makes it actually special?
Of course. LIMBERRY is an online shop for traditional German clothes like dirndl, leather pants. What's different to others, it's mainly the price, it's in the price premium. And of course our dirndl are the most beautiful ones. We are not just an online shop, but we have our own brand, LIMBERRY, and additionally about 20-25 other brands.
And what inspired you to actually found LIMBERRY? What was it?
Well, I think you don't choose to be a founder, but the self-employment chooses you're going to be a founder. So it was not a question, will I found, but it just happened. Since I was little, when someone asked me, do you want to become a doctor or I don't know what, I always said I want to be self-employed, I want to have my own company without even knowing what it means. But it started like in small age that we had like an apple tree and I took the apples and sit down in front of the house. I was like 4, selling the apples to the neighbors and getting money for it. So I think people who know me already from small, they would say it's just like I always wanted to be self-employed and have my own business. That's how it started.
And what inspired you actually to LIMBERRY? How did you come up with the idea?
As you said before, actually the plan was after my studies to start at my dad's company. I was working at my dad's company, steel trading, very boring. And the plan was actually that he's gonna retire within the next 2 years and I'm gonna take over the company. But, well, you can make the best plans, but if you're not happy in the situation, it is that way. So I was talking to my dad and asking him whether it's fine if I just leave the company. And he's like, yeah, please just go, because I was the worst employee ever. I did so many mistakes because I was just not into it. I was not interested into it. I was not motivated, and he saw I was unhappy. So he was actually the one saying, okay, Sibilla, just go, because you're like putting my company in danger on the one hand. On the other hand, he saw his daughter unhappy. So during that time, I already chose to write my PhD about mass customization, and I needed actually a case study, like a real case. I could get my data for my PhD, and there was actually no company which offered customized female clothes. So I said, okay, I don't want to do steel anymore. I want to become self-employed, and I need data, so why don't I just found a company offering mass customized female clothes, getting the data also for my PhD, and getting the output of the data of my PhD, the results for my self-employment.
So actually it was a benefit for 2 sides of what you were doing, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, most people forget about that, but it's always the hard way to get successful. So around, I think it was the end of 2013, you were close to bankruptcy. What was the main problem from a customer point of view?
Mm-hmm. I would always say it's the customer who determines what a business is, and I had theoretically a great idea, but no market for it. Mass customization within the, I think not just within the fashion industry, within many industries. Let's say my muesli, I think they make more money without customized muesli than with a customized muesli. It's a good marketing tool, but it's not selling. You just have to imagine, you go on an online site, you've never tried on any clothes from that company before, and if you buy it, you cannot return it. Because of course, if you design your own clothes online, you cannot just say, okay, within 14 days you have a right to return. So, I don't know the English saying, you buy the Katze in the Sack. So you buy something you have never tried on and you cannot return. There are more than these facts. Also, people are used to same-day delivery. customization is not possible to do same-day delivery. So, but people sometimes called me one day after they made the order, asking, "Where's my order? Where's my customized jacket?" And I had really to explain that it takes 2 to 3 weeks. So there were a bunch of problems. I would say it's theoretically a great idea, but there is no market for it.
And what did you actually then change to maybe just make a better conversion rate and be successful once again?
Mm-hmm. At that time, we had already great press coverage. I had a team. I had a factory. I had kind of a small name within the fashion industry, within the traditional German clothes industry, because the press really liked the Dirndl configurator. So they were all writing about the Dirndl configurator, although the collection was bigger than the Dirndl, everyone was writing about the Dirndl. So if from like, let's say 100 press coverage, you have like 99 about the Dirndl configurator, people think you are actually an online shop for traditional German clothes. So at that time, I did not even know that. We started actually to look at our numbers, asking what did we sell okay, what didn't we sell, and we saw that the Dirndl was actually the product which we sold most. So we started to look into the market of traditional German clothes and realized there was no modern, clean online shop for Dirndl and leather pants in the premium price sector. There were a bunch of companies offering this cheap, more costumes but in the premium price sector, a really modern online shop did not exist. So I talked to my they are not my co-founders, but they are like my co-founders because I founded by myself. But after a while, two guys who actually built the online shop and the configurator, they became shareholders. And we just sat down and actually, as I said, analyzed the market for German traditional clothes. And we said, okay, why don't we try? We have everything to try without spending a lot of money to become an online shop for German traditional clothes, because people already noticed us as an online shop for traditional clothes. So that's how it came up. And I just felt it couldn't be now over. I haven't tried everything. There must be something we can get out of it.
So it sounds a little bit like that the press also changed your business.
Yes.
So, well, I just imagine, so mostly I know that a lot of founders are too much in love with their baby and they don't quit at the right time. You didn't quit for a good one and for good reasons. What was your mantra for not quitting and giving up? Was there anything?
I think it's just me, because Sibilla doesn't quit. I saw this opportunity. I was lucky that I had I call them co-founders because they feel like my co-founders. And we just said, okay, one last try. We're going to spend this much money, this much time, and until this time we need that much of revenue. So we had a clear goal ahead, and it was the last try, and it worked out somehow. I don't want to say that it's always good, but I would say many founders or companies quit too early to try to get something out. Because you start with an idea, and within this whole journey, most of the time you have to change your business or adapt it to the market like we did. And I think a lot of founders start with an idea, and if it doesn't work out, they just quit without thinking, okay, is there something we have, like an USP we can use in another way? That's just what I would recommend many to think of. Is there a USP we can use for maybe a change in our business?
So, well, he came up a good question, actually. I will just highlight it over there. How did you meet your co-founders? Well, you say it's co-founders, or were they shareholders? And why did you choose them?
When I founded about 7 years ago, I did not even know there is something like a startup scene. I did not even know I'm a founder of a startup. I think I didn't even know the word startup at that time. I founded myself because I did not know anyone. No, other way around. I didn't found myself because I wanted to be a solo entrepreneur, but I did not know anyone from my like friends and network that could be a good fit and actually wanted to become a founder. So I was talking to a lot of friends, telling them from my idea and asking them whether they know someone, freelancer, who can just technically build an online shop. And so there was a friend of mine, he's like, oh yeah, I know someone who was working in our agency, but now he's like doing freelancer jobs, just talk to them. So this guy actually founded their own agency for freelance IT work, and I met them, and somehow it was love on the first sight, or just luck that. But 7 years ago it was easier to find IT experts than nowadays. But obviously I was lucky because it was the first shop and it was a perfect fit.
So actually you asked someone in your network, some friends, and so that helped actually.
Always network. Always network.
All right. So this one is actually a little bit an experiment from my side. So imagine you're planning to start an online shop in a niche market. You didn't do it so far. What would be the approach from your side to start? And would you do something differently from now?
Niche markets, I think are a good idea because most big companies, let's say in fashion industry like Zalando, they wouldn't be interested getting into this niche. So on this side it's really interesting, but what you have to do is look if the niche is big enough. Because a niche which is too small doesn't make sense. So what would I recommend, or what would I do differently? I suppose I would more try to find out if the niche is big enough, if it's really a business case. It all depends. If you're a designer and wanted to do traditional German clothes, it doesn't matter. You just have to pay your bill maybe for yourself and for a small atelier. Mm-hmm. But if you really want to make a business out of it, it must be big enough.
All right. Actually, that's a good one. So, most people I know, and also like in the past few weeks, some people I told about this event, and when I mentioned you, we were like knowing you already because you were at the TV show, Die Höhle der Löwen. So, for people who maybe don't know it, it's the German version of Shark Tank. And you got investors on board, which not everyone can in that show, and convinced Judith Williams and Carsten Maschmeyer to invest in you with 250,000 euros for, I think it was 20% of your company shares. What kind of an impact did the TV show have on your business and on your sales? And did people buy like crazy during broadcast initially when the show was on and live? Since recording is, I think, in the past, and the present we're seeing it and believe, hey, it's right now.
Yeah. I could encourage everyone who is having a business selling to customers, so a B2C business, to try to get into this TV show. It has an incredible impact. Let's just talk about the figures. Do you know how many people watch this show?
Not really.
What do you think?
He's saying
3 million people, over 3 million people. So based on this, I also, like, I said, okay, let's have Germany about 90 people as the population of Germany, just 3 million, so nobody will recognize me on the street or something, but it's just so strange. I think almost every second day someone is coming up and saying, I know you were in the TV show, or somehow I know you, but I don't know where, do you know? Yeah. So it's just incredible, like 3 million people watch it. Numbers. Since we don't offer products which you just easily buy in a second, it's not, Dumbo are not like Ankerkraut, which says salt and pepper for €4. So you really have to think about, of course, our sale within this day of the TV show increased like by 20 times as much as a normal day, but the sale came after a while, like after 1 week or 2 weeks, because usually our customer, they don't visit LIMBERRY and buy at the first site, but when they come the second or the third time they visit the site. So the impact also from the number was huge.
That's impressive. So I also like saw, well, a video, I think it was from Focus or something, they were like summarizing up the show, the Löwen, and they were saying that, well, I think it was about 10 or 5 startups, but they were the most successful ones, and I think you were right before Little Lunch. It was pretty impressive to me, because Little Lunch is like, they're saying it's the most successful one right now from the show. But I like it. It's pretty cool.
It's just so hard saying most successful, don't believe what the press is saying. Maybe they think it's like most sympathetic, but successful, there are more companies doing millions more. So don't believe everything the press is saying.
All right. So thanks for the clarification, actually. So I think the show was actually last year, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So how long was it actually? I mean, we see only about 10 minutes or something. How long did you prepare it and stuff like that? Could you just give me a little bit maybe insight on that one?
Of course. It all started in November 2015 when I was sitting in front of the TV and they was showing the last show of Höhle der Löwen and saying, apply now. So I just, wrote a message. My name is Sibilla Kawala, I would like to take part in the show, and I already forgot about that. A couple of weeks later, they said, oh yeah, okay, here you have to fill out like 11, 12 pages. You have to put everything. They wanted to know, have you ever been in any TV show or whatsoever. They wanted to know your whole life, all your secrets. So I filled that out, and by this time I also said, okay, never mind, never gonna happen. And then I haven't heard from them for ages, like 2-3 months. And I said to my boyfriend, well, I think it's not nice. They could at least tell me that I'm not in, but not just writing back is not really polite. And 2 days later, it was a Friday, 7 p.m. I was actually in the changing room in the shopping center, and someone called me. I picked up. Yeah, hello, this is Sony. We're producing Höhle der Löwen. Do you have time for an interview? I'm like, okay. I sit down in the dressing room or in the cabin, and I actually talked to this lady for 30 minutes. And 2 minutes later, I received an email, okay, here's one step further. And that was actually the one step. They made a video interview with me and a Skype call. And then after 2 weeks, they said, you're in the show. We're going to record it in 1 week. So I had 1 week time to prepare. And what looks so easy, it's really tough because you're not just preparing your pitch, but you also have to prepare like everything you see in the background. They have a team. But they want you as a founder to be in this process and to everything actually you saw. Even I had a huge wall, like 4 meters times 3 meters of a wall which was made of wood. So I had this traditional Trachten feeling in the background. I actually brought from Hamburg to Cologne. So also I organized some models presenting the journal addresses and some presents for the investors. So I had to do this within less than 1 week.
All right, that's actually pretty a lot of preparing, but lucky for you it was a success. Since it was last year that you were in the show, what happened since then? And of course, like, how did the investors of the show help you besides money?
I think since last year in August, or 1 day later, like RTL and many TV shows just came by and wanted to record for like Berichterstattung. I don't know what's the English word.
Press coverage?
Yeah, press coverage in the TV. And since then we had like more than 200 press coverage in all kind of magazines, online, print, from Handelsblatt to Bild. So it was a lot of fun. And besides the press coverage, obviously people recognize me on the street. That's weird. Since I was never like wanting to become like someone who's gonna be recognized on the street. Besides that, my investors I'm in touch with them personally, but of course most of the time I'm in touch with their employees, their partners, and mainly like every second, third day I talk to them.
Actually, a lot of contact, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, well, for my side part, I would like, first of all, like just leave behind the show and get back to you. Well, I mentioned earlier that it makes most of the time sense that we don't do this one in German if the company is also like international, and your website is also, at least a part of it is in English. So I noticed that instead of completely localizing or translating your online shop, you did a smart move from my perspective. You just put some text in there and saying, hey, I'm a shopping assistant. If you need anything, just email me or call me, I will help you. I was curious, what is that about? Is that a try? Which city or country is working the best, or what is it all about?
I think before one should, before thinking about internationalization, you should be the first and best one in your own country, or in like Austria, which is a country where they wear donor dresses, like also, normal life. And so the plan was that it's too expensive to translate, but we want to have the sales from abroad when they come, but it doesn't make sense. The market right now is too small because, of course, there are a lot of Chinese and Americans. They wear the dresses, but they more wear them like costumes. So they're not willing to spend 400-500 euros for donor or leather pants. So basically, it's just something where I say, okay, if someone is coming on a web page, we can offer them. We can make the sales, but there's no sense right now in translating, and I think Germany and Austria is at this stage our goal to be the first and biggest one.
Well, it's actually also a huge growth, right? The market space, I mean. So, I mean, you mentioned it already, like they're wearing it for costumes. So Oktoberfest is once a year. So I imagine that you still have traffic on your site and that still people buy it. What is the main reason why people are buying? Are they preparing themselves for Oktoberfest next year, or is it like something else?
I mean, there are a lot of reasons. Some people wear donor dresses when they get married, so they are actually wedding donor dresses. Some people, for special occasions, birthday, New Year's Eve, they wear donor dresses. Not in the north of Germany, but in Bavaria and Austria. This is not a costume, but it's traditional clothes that they wear to special occasions. So, of course, the peak of the sales is around about the Oktoberfest, but our season starts actually in April and May because it's the wedding season, and when the couple is getting married with a dirndl, also their not visitors, their guests, their guests have to wear traditional German clothes.
Is that happening mostly in Bavaria? I'm just asking.
Austria, Bavaria.
Austria, Bavaria. Crazy. Since 2010, you were always like running for success of LIMBERRY, and you mastered your ups and downs. Obviously, we had already like the bankruptcies. I imagine a lot of more stuff we probably don't know about. And additionally, you also like finished the PhD, which actually started your business, right? So, what are your secrets towards work-life balance? Since I imagine you still have like family, friendships, work-life, like, I don't know, work and also like your education part of a PhD. So how did you like make your time management? What helped you? Was there any, I don't know, productivity tools, tricks you used, and what helped you?
I think I'm quite good in execution. So some people would maybe take twice or 3 times as much time for something. I do it way more quickly. Not always perfect, but it's okay. So, for example, when I had the idea of LIMBERRY, it was November, and I launched LIMBERRY within 7 months. So I founded the company, I found the name LIMBERRY, we developed the web page, we developed the configurator, I found actually my co-founders, I found the factory, I designed the clothes by myself, so I went to buy all the fabrics just within 7 months. I think that's quite quick, and I think that's just something God gave me, that I'm quite fast in doing something. It's not always perfectly fine, but in an okay manner.
And did anything help you during that process of execution? So are you maybe, I don't know, any software you're using frequently or anything else? No. Just you?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, well, the founders we had here so far were mostly like co-founders. You mentioned it earlier, you were actually a solopreneur alone, although you had some co-founders later on, or at least you see them like that. What would you recommend to someone who's hesitating? Because, I mean, you didn't hesitate. You were like, I can't find someone, I don't care, I just found right now, and see what happens, right? So what would you recommend to someone who's hesitating because he or she didn't find a co-founder who was a good fit? And, yeah.
Look deeper. You need to find co-founders. Don't found by yourself. I would never do that again.
That's a good one, actually. I didn't see that one coming. So, also like a different topic from our side. I mean, you're our first female entrepreneur guest, which is amazing. Since female entrepreneurship is always a topic in our society, I always see it like that. There are a lot of associations, and I think it's not only in the startups field, it's also like in other fields always discussed, why are there less women in this field and that field? But I see a lot of people are asking that question a lot of times, and I also had a lot of conversations with women about it, since I was always curious about it. So what is your opinion? Why is it like that people, or especially female entrepreneurs, are not that much happening around, and what stops women from founding?
From my experience, what I see in my network when I talk to women, basically 2 things. The first thing is that women are risk averse. They just don't want to take risk. They better be unhappy than taking risk. That's the first. And the second one is that they don't believe they have the ability to do something. So I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I was talking also about female entrepreneurship, and one girl asked me, like, do you know how to sew, to make dildo dresses? I said, no, I have no idea. But how come you found a company making German traditional dresses? I said, I don't understand your question. Well, if you do that, you have to learn how to sew. I said, why do you need that? Well, you need to know that. I said, before I learn how to sew, I take a student who can sew and make a win-win situation out of it. Maybe she can use it for a master or bachelor degree as a collection or something, but why should I? But that's the way maybe how women think. Maybe they think they need something what they don't really need for the business, or they think they're not good enough for something. Why women are afraid of asking for a high salary? It's always the same. Men, they're not better, but they think they are better. I think that's the point.
So, well, did you have any female role models who maybe helped you or maybe just inspired you also?
Not really. Not really. My role model actually is my dad. I'm really close to, I'm close also to my mom, but my mom is not a business lady. She's a warm-hearted mommy, hardworking. She's working for me now, but she's not the businesswoman. So I think it's more my dad.
So, since you mentioned it, what is your mother doing in your company? Or how is she helping you, and what do you do together? And is it hard to do, like, it's again like family business, right?
Yes, it's a family business because my dad is also working for LIMBERRY. Well, the question is not what is she doing, the question is what is she not doing. She's like the soul, she knows everything, like where what is put, but mainly she's designing the collection, she's helping me in the production, and she's doing everything I don't like to do, like all this Buchhaltung things.
So, since we are still on the topic, female entrepreneurship and stuff like that, did you face any hurdles because you were a female entrepreneur? Anything where you thought like, would a man happen, something like that?
Yes, many times. The problem is that when you're a woman, you have to prove what you're able to do. Men, they're just like, I can do this. Oh yeah, great. I believe. Okay. Woman, I'm not saying I can do this. You have to prove it, and it's taking long time to show you're not really that stupid. That's my experience, unfortunately. So you always have to prove, and they also some guys, they don't like take you for serious. Oh, it's just no, that's unfortunately my experience, to be honest.
So since you mentioned you had a lot of like situations like that, I mean, Startup Grind, we're trying to engage people, help them, connect them and stuff like that. And I mean, you know me also for a very long time. I'm also doing a lot of other stuff, helping entrepreneurs. So what could we maybe do to help and maybe also educate or prevent something like that? Is there anything you would like to come up and say, this would be great if, I don't know, this would be happening, or I don't know?
I think we are doing already a lot in the society, so I think the main factor is just time. You cannot change something who was 1,000 years like that, you cannot change within days. So I think, like, yeah, everyone is doing a good job getting visibility for women, role models, etc. So I think it's just time.
So I have a question. I saw that in the book quite a while ago, and I wanted to always ask that here because I think it's actually a good one. Because most of the time we are asking here about advice in general for entrepreneurs. But this time I would like to ask you, what is the worst advice given to you?
Good question. I don't really have an answer. Well, at the time it wasn't running well, like when we started with mass customization. Of course, many said, just quit, get out of it. So quitting too early was a really bad advice, I think. I don't know. I don't really have an answer, sorry.
Whereas I believe it's a hard one. I think even I couldn't answer who gave me an bad advice so far. So I believe this question will come up later on, but still I'd like to ask it already. How will the future of mass customization look from your perspective, since somehow you're also like an expert in that field? So what do you believe?
Very dark. Well, I cannot say mass customization in general, because I think in the automotive industry it's working quite well. You can customize your Golf Polo or your Mercedes, so this is also mass customization. Mass customization actually are two contrast theory, mass for the mass and customization for one individual, and you're trying to put these two actually opposing theories together. So I think there are some business cases where it works. But within the fashion industry, I think Nike ID, My Adidas, I think Converse also, where you can customize your Converse. That was Burberry Bespoke. I don't even know if they still exist. Last time I had it look like 2 years ago, it was still minus. So it's more a marketing tool than actually getting cash.
So is your demo configurator you still have on your website also more like marketing and not completely marketing? So I was like thinking, why is that also possible for men? I mean, yeah, it was like sales for men, and I was like, man, I would like to customize these buttons. Awesome, all right, marketing, I got it. So, what are the next milestones from your perspective for LIMBERRY? We talked about mass customization's future. What is the future of LIMBERRY? And I don't know, besides growth, what is it? What you're like thinking about, planning about? Well, Alexander and I, we discussed about it. I mean, we researched, of course, about LIMBERRY and looked into it, and we're thinking of maybe a kids collection. I don't know.
The most problematic thing about LIMBERRY is that it's a niche, but not the niche is problematic, but it's so seasonal. So we have one really, really high peak within the September during the Oktoberfest, and then right now it's quite low. So basically right now we're thinking about how can we maybe start a new business or another online shop or within LIMBERRY to overcome the off-season with another idea. So this is, I don't have an answer right now, but this is something we are thinking about now and doing workshops. Because this is the main challenge. Because putting the peak higher and higher makes everything even more complicated because you need more people, just seasonal within the season, and I like to have my team and work with them the whole year and not just work with them for 2 weeks and then getting someone new.
So, are you planning to get out of your niche, or what did you mean actually doing workshops, figuring out what could be next?
Actually, everything is possible. I have a lot of experience, and obviously LIMBERRY is my baby, and I would be very sad doing something else. But first, I think I'm an entrepreneur, and what challenges me is not directly the money, but if it's growing, if it's going further. And if I see the niche is too small, I could definitely imagine founding something else. So at this stage, everything is possible.
So you should probably watch what you're doing next. So I saw one of the questions here in the room, which could be probably interesting. People in the States are crazy about Oktoberfest and dirndls, of course. What do you think about the US market?
Well, US, there are also many German who actually knows that a dirndl doesn't mean a costume, but can be traditional clothes. But mainly, if I would be Chibo, it would be really interesting, or Aldi with cheap costume dirndl to sell them. I don't think it's a business case for LIMBERRY.
So, one of my last questions, actually, from my side, is actually moving back to the beginnings. In the beginnings of LIMBERRY, you had a lot of different clothes. Later on, you specialized in Bavarian fashion. What kind of an experience did you make through customer validation, and what kind of learnings did you make during that process? I mean, you already mentioned that you believe mass customization is not a thing, at least in the fashion market, besides marketing, of course. But what did customers tell you during that time? I mean, you mentioned that press was helping you to find the right space, but what did the customers actually tell you?
That was the main problem, that at this stage I didn't listen to customers. I just saw all this press coverage and friends and network. Oh, you're so doing so great, and you have so much press coverage. You must be rich now. And I thought, okay, maybe tomorrow I'm gonna have to claim for bankruptcy. So at that time, my problem was actually that I was not listening to customers, and I think this is the most important thing if you have a B2C product or even B2B, both are your customers. What does your customer want? And that's the only question you have to ask yourself at this stage. Because this was my problem, that so much press coverage, everyone's saying, well, it's such a great idea, but nobody was actually buying my product, I was always saying, okay, why don't they buy? Yeah, because they think it's a good idea, but not a product they want to buy. And that's just it. And it took me too long, and I wasted a lot of time for finding this out.
So actually, could you just maybe also say like that press blinded you?
Of course.
Yeah. So just right now, I would like to move a little bit more forward to the questions the audience has. Before that, if you could have a billboard anywhere in the world, wherever you would like to have it, I don't know, Times Square, wherever, what would it say?
I like the saying, it doesn't matter how it starts, it matters how it ends.
That's a good one. What was your desired profession as a child? What did you dream of actually? Was it the same or was it something different?
Well, I just wanted to have my own company. That's how I put it. I want to have my own company and sell things. I was always selling some things. I had friends who can draw very nice pictures, and he had to draw, and I sold them, and we made 50-50. I always had to sell things, but I like products more than virtual things, products.
So my last question from my side before I deep dive into the audience questions is, do you have any favorite book which inspired you the most, or which you said it's great to read? Could be anything.
Shame on me, I hate books since I finished my PhD. I had to read so much, and I finished my PhD just 1 year ago, and I just hate books right now. I'm sorry. I actually, when after Höhle der Löwen, the book I read actually was from Carsten Maschmeyer. I don't want to say that it's a great book and everyone has to read it, but just to get to know my future investor and to try to find out how he's thinking. So that's actually the only book I read within the past 12 months, because I'm just at this stage. Maybe next year, maybe when we start traveling again next year, then, but at this stage I don't like books.
It also sounds like that you prepared yourself very well for the show, right? That you just researched.
Of
Should
course.
I really like that investor? You don't have to mention any names, but was anyone in the show, like one of the investors, you said like, I don't want to work with that guy or that person at all?
I did not know them personally, so it's just business, and businesses who can help me the most. And after the TV show, I had 6 months time to think about whether really I want this deal or not. So it was not that after the show I said, okay, now let's make the deal. But I was like, one day I said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. The next day, no, I don't want to. I'm a captain, and I don't like if someone else wants to take over. So it was really 6 months until we signed the contract. So it's more a business thing than really thinking about, do I like him or her?
Of course. So now it's your turn. So you still can put in some questions over there. You saw it already that some questions popped up, and even some people did vote on the questions. So if there are any questions you like the most, vote them up. I'll just keep that one now. Probably, I don't know, maybe you can't answer all the questions. So Robert is asking here in the room. Hey, Robert, where are you? Always. All right. So Robert is asking regarding the question before, why would you never found alone again?
Founding a company is really tough. If you're alone, it's so tough. Even though you have friends, you have family, but since they are not in, since they just don't know what you really experienced in that moment, and it's no offense, they cannot experience that. But if you have a co-founder who actually feels the same, is in the same situation, and you can call them him or her Sunday at, I don't know, 11 and talk to him or her and share this, your thoughts, your fears, you don't have anyone. You're alone. And it's really, really hard being alone. Really hard. And I don't have I don't have problems making decisions, but it's way easier if you have someone you can talk about that, and maybe also have different point of views, but you have to make so many decisions you're not an expert in, and you're just worried about, is that the right decision? And it would be way easier if, even though you can still make a bad decision, even though two founders think this is the right way and then they found out, but then it's easier. You can share so much. So right now, with my experience, I would say I would never found a company by myself again.
Follow-up question from my side. Did you have any mentors in the process at some point? Did they help you? Stuff like that?
I always had mentors. I think this is the most important, besides your customers, what do they want? Get yourself 1, 2, 3 mentors, talk to people. That's one of the most important thing. And I had really from the beginning, my first mentor was actually my dad.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, it was just like, my dad is now 70, so he does not understand all this e-commerce and investors, and he was growing as much as he had money, and he just put money and spent money how much he had money, and I spent more money than I actually have because of investors. So it's just too complicated for him. He said, okay, I cannot help you anymore. So at this stage, I always had mentors.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
So, again, a follow-up question from my side, since I didn't see it so far, and so far I didn't ask it. Could you maybe also give an insight about the money was put in the company? Like, I know that you used some money from yourself, and I know we know obviously also from the show. And what was the process of getting money?
Well, the first money actually was my Bausparvertrag. That was actually my parents made an account when I was born, and all kinds of financial presents, birthday, Christmas, they put onto this account, and it was actually around about 38,000 euros 7 years ago, or so I took that money. Besides that, I was thinking, what else? Gründerzuschuss.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually, if you have already work experience and worked for at least 2 years, you can get, I think it's 60% of your last 2 years' salary for 1 or 1.5 years from the government or from the state. And then actually I had a family and friends darlehen, also about 100,000 euro.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Höhle der Löwen.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I think it helps to just get to know how you just made this company possible.
Yeah.
Right? So, the next question over here, which has one of the most votes, is again about the show. What was the most valuable outcome, and why? Customer contacts, investor knowledge afterwards, or investor money, or the whole process of the show? I think you mentioned already the press coverage helped a lot, but was there anything else, I don't know, examples mentioned or something?
As a solopreneur, you feel sometimes very lonely, and if you have strong, famous investors, you feel strong. So I'm not saying it's equal to a co-founder, but it gives you strength. And all kind of, it's a network, you have a sparring partner, and yes, so I think this is the second most important part besides the press coverage.
Since we're again at the topic of the Höhle, so I was always, this is a question from my side. how often did you actually have contact with your actual investors? I mean, you mentioned most of the time it's more like their employees, their team, around their investment company. But how often was it that you, I don't know, customized for Judy Williams? How often did you meet them and then get advice from them directly?
Yeah. I met Maschmeyer for lunch 3 weeks ago. I talked to him today and I have a phone call tomorrow. I was supposed to see him on Friday, but it was postponed to January. So I would say once a month, once like every 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, roundabout.
So actually a lot.
I don't know if it's a lot, but for me it's fine. If I would need more help or something, I could see and talk to them more often. But yeah, for me it's fine like that.
Right, I think this one we probably answered, but maybe we'll add something on that. So Tim asked, what are the next plans for LIMBERRY? Where is your journey heading? I think we probably answered that, but maybe you would like to add anything on that? All right, so I think that one is done. So Sophie is asking, how many employees do you have started with, and are you doing the design process yourself? So I think you mentioned that your mother is also doing like Miss LIMBERRY courses. I think it's the only label right now you have. No, you have more. All right, so just do it. I don't know.
Yeah. We started with LIMBERRY. That's our own brand. That's actually a dress I'm wearing from LIMBERRY in a blouse. And last year we launched a little bit cheaper in the price sector of like LIMBERRY costs about 300 to 400 euro. Miss LIMBERRY is like the small sister of LIMBERRY, price about 180, 190 euro for younger customers. And so what was that question?
How many employees?
How many employees? 10.
And in the beginning?
Me,
so now
and I even didn't pay myself for I think 3 years. I mean, first I became the Gründerzuschuss and I got the Gründerzuschuss, and afterwards it was like Javier, I think 450 euro. And then when we changed the concept from mass customization to download dresses like my mom, then one employee, and then
So who was your first employee actually? So when did you get someone on board?
My mommy.
Yeah?
Yeah, my mommy was the first and the best.
And you are doing the designs together?
Yes, we are doing the designs together, and we like to fight, obviously, we're girls. We're giving the other employees a tough time because mommy and daughter, it's really hard. But yeah.
So, Amin asked, if you're bootstrapping, when is the best moment to look for investors?
If you know you're going to be really, really successful, wait until that moment. If you struggle, do it when you still just have an idea, because if you have an idea, you can sell them everything. That's gonna be a 10 million company, but if you already have a proof of concept, and your proof of concept shows the market is really small, you're never gonna reach 1 million, it's really hard to find investors. So it depends. I think there is no rule of thumb, but I think I would do it when I have an idea and start with an investor, because bootstrapping is really tough and takes a lot of time and effort you could actually put in your business. And having 100% of your business doesn't mean you have 100 million. Better have 10% of a 100 million worth company than 100% of a company that's worth nothing.
All right, I hope, the question was answered. So, the next one is, the experience of customization offline is quite cool. An example of feeling of being served. How do you make the online customization attractive for customers and consumers? I believe you mentioned it's only marketing, but is there anything you believe helps for people to just use that thing?
No, I don't think so. It's a USP. It's something that remains in your head, because there are more online shops with traditional German clothes, but we are the one with customized donor dresses. Even though they don't buy, it remains in your head.
So the next one is from Axel, and Axel is asking, what role did technology play for your shop, and where did you face challenges?
When I found it, I didn't realize that I was actually kind of a tech company. I realized that every day now, when my two IT co-founders are not available, it's a catastrophe. So learning by doing.
It's also like looking for people who could be also available more often, or what would you say?
Excuse me?
People who are less, like also more like often available for you if you need something. I don't know, your server crashes or something and you need immediate help or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Axel, I hope your question is also answered. All right. So, did you consider providing a mobile app for your users? What are the pros and cons?
I think it's important to have a mobile site. We have one. It's not perfect, but we have at least one. An app at this stage I don't think it's important right now. Maybe if you ask me in 6 months, I will give you another answer. But at this stage, no.
All right. So, how did you, in the beginning, keep up with the orders placed, production by your customers? How did you manage that? So, did you have something on stock, or did you have a storage somewhere and it had to be gone from there or something like that? How did you do that?
For the customer, it looks like a huge online shop and everything is organized. In a bag, it was just chaos pure. I just had to somehow, a customer there, fabric here, factory here, then trying to get the fabric. So it was so fun because it was all manually done. No automation, no orders comes in straight to the factory. They know what to do. No, I had to rebuild what the customer actually customized and make a picture of it and explain to the factory. Horrible.
So it also sounds like you don't like it when people use your customization.
It's okay.
So how is it actually right now? So did you change the processes right now automized, or is it still like the beginnings?
Well, now our order process is more automized, but not fully. The customization process is still the same. So if someone buys something customized, I sit there and reconfigure what she bought.
So I'm getting closer to having no questions anymore. So if you still have questions, just put it in here and I'll try to ask them. So Milan is asking, what is your plan to increase the need of traditional German clothing, I think it's clothing, in additional markets to further grow business? I don't know, do you plan TV commercials or stuff like that? Or what is it that you want a bigger market share, I believe it's about that. How are you planning to conquer Germany?
Well, at this stage right now, we just sell LIMBERRY and Miss LIMBERRY at limberry.de. So a plan would be to think about maybe pop-up store within, like in Munich, within the time of Oktoberfest, or maybe getting somehow into boutiques and shops. So offer shops to buy LIMBERRY and Miss LIMBERRY and sell them in real life and not online.
All right. Since we are at the market question, I saw also another question which is similar. Why not selling in the Swiss market? You mentioned Germany and also Austria, but not Switzerland. I mean, we're speaking German too.
Swiss is a little bit complicated because of the tax. It's possible, but it's so much effort right now, and I really think what's important is to focus. You can do everything, but you won't be best in one thing. So be best in one country, maybe in the second, and if I'm best in Germany and in Austria, Switzerland would be the third one. But at this stage, it's just really horrible with the tax.
Yeah. Got it. So the next one here is, what is the biggest hurdle you did experience by selling your product online, and how did you solve it?
What is
the biggest hurdle? Yeah.
Getting visible. I mean, Google is not like the gelben Seiten or where you can just look A, B, C, D and find something. So the first thing was I had a perfect online shop, perfect configurator, but nobody knew about LIMBERRY. So the first thing we had to start is all the marketing activities. And that was like one of the biggest challenge, because you're all focused when you start and getting a perfect online shop, but a perfect online shop without the traffic doesn't make sense. So that was one of the biggest hurdle.
How did you overcome that for
I was lucky that actually at that time the topic Journal configurator or configurator was quite interesting for the press. So I just started, I was calling Kawala, Bild, Glamour, Insta, and say, hey, my name is Sibilla, I'm the founder, please have a look, it's an online configurator, very, very new, So I convinced them that I at least had a look, and they were impressed, they liked it. I mean, you have to think about the people, the journalists, they're writing every day about the same topics. So if there comes someone with a new idea, they are quite open for new things. It's not the 10th dongle they're writing about, but they're talking about a dongle configurator. So basically it was just that I had something new for them.
But so one more thing. So you only went through press instead of...
SEO was hard because nobody was looking for customized clothes. How can you do search engine optimization if no one actually searches for the product you offer? Because nobody knows that it exists. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, the next one, I hope you can answer that. I don't know how good you know your number of female and male customers. So what is the customer ratio men versus women?
It's 80 to 20%. 80 women, 20 men, but men are growing. But it also, we just started to sell man clothes 1 year ago. Women donor clothes we started already from the beginning. So I think, I don't think it's ever going to be 50-50, but I think like 30 to 40% man customer is possible.
Is there anything you saw so far that it's a trend with men that they like, I don't know, they like something about your shop? I don't know, something they buy the most?
What was really bestseller were our own leather pants we designed this year. It was really bestseller, yeah.
So again, we're getting closer to the end. So if you have anything like a burning question, just feel free to ask that. A lot of times people are telling me, why didn't you ask that one? So feel free to ask that one. Next one is from Robert. Networking. Do you actively build your network and expand it? How important do you... Well, wait. So, how important do you think a big and stable network is?
I think networking is important. However, I prefer, if I go to events, my goal is not to have like 50 business cards or having spend all my business card in one night. I think if you have one really, really interesting, good conversation, and it doesn't mean it's about business, but about life, hobbies, etc. I think that's the nicest and most successful start of a good network, relationship, friendship. So I'm not a good networker, because networkers usually go and they come home at least with 10 business cards. I usually have one.
So it's also like something we believe is very important, like really building friendships. So don't see like resources. It's really like people, human beings, and interaction. Alright. So what differentiates you? So Vlad is asking actually, what differentiates you from companies with similar products? If big e-commerce websites in Germany started selling very similar products, what will be your advantage?
You can buy anything or everything at Zalando. The problem is, do you want to buy certain products? Zalando. People like niche or special interest shops because they focus on the topic you're looking for. Of course you can buy a wedding dress at Zalando, but do you want actually really to buy a wedding dress at Zalando? Or if you're really like hiking, you can get all kind of things. I think even a tent from Zalando. I'm not sure yet, but why should someone, really who's really into that topic, who is not just looking for a costume but looking for something real? So I think this is the advantage of special interest online shop. And of course, Zalando with its offering of German traditional clothes is a competitor, but I think real lovers of German traditional clothes, they will never buy from Zalando that's on the dress.
So we are really getting closer to the end. Last 3 questions, hopefully. Let's see. So you mentioned trying new things. Now, how do you validate your product concepts or idea before launching? How do you validate it, or who do you validate with?
I would say I have right now a good network of professors, of investors, of colleagues, of other founders, and I just talk to them, getting their opinion. I think one really stupid thinking or processing is not talking with people about your idea. Because there are some founders who run around and they want to found and they say, oh, I cannot tell you my idea because you're going to copy it. That's so stupid. Get out, talk to people, tell as much people and discuss your idea, because you will get other way of thinking. And I think, so I would talk to my network with as many people as I can.
All right. So, what is your definition of traditional German clothes? Just from the south area, or did we found something from the north in the future?
Just from the south.
All right. So, did you extra plan in time in your schedule to work on the strategy of the company or education elements for yourself, or is this happening spontaneously?
Spontaneously.
All right. How many times did you change your technology online shop because of unforeseen issues?
Not once.
It's getting really fast. So if you still have questions, go for it. You see, we are really fast now. So Axel is again asking something. Great. What is one thing that really surprised you in selling online? Successful products, customer behavior, etc.
I think you can sell almost everything online right now. That's just so amazing, and it doesn't matter whether it's night, it's Sunday, it's in the morning, or it's really 24/7. And it can be good, it can be bad. I don't know how it's for society, but for me, obviously, it's good.
All right. Thank you, Sibilla. So I don't see any questions anymore, so this is why I was going to change this thing. Thank you for your time. For the insights, and I hope you all learned 1 or 2 things. And so give Sibilla a big hand again, please.